Hey everybody, this is Stephen Bryan, the Dean of GovSales University. Excited to dive into Chapter 6 today. This is the Bid Proposal System, acronym BPS we call it. But this is what everybody thinks about when they need to start or want to start selling to government. They say, where are the bids at? Something we get asked all the time. And just so you know, in other courses, we went and reviewed that only 20% of all government spending goes through this bid proposal process, but it is very important. And it is one of the most complex, labor-intensive. Grab your pen and papers because we're going to go through it. So in Chapter 6 here, we start out with Video 1, the influence bid before the release. So they say once the bid hits the street, it's already too late. Now, it's kind of funny because, like, what do you mean? Like, how do I get ahead of the bid? Like, I normally get notified by my bid system or I see it on the agency's website. What do I do beforehand? So in this video, we cover forming relationships because it's really important to have that relationship with an agency and be a part of that process when they're actually drawing up the scope of work for what they need, whether you have a product or service. You would typically have some influence as far as helping them because this is very time consuming for agencies as well. Not something they love to do, but it's just a part of the process to be in compliance. So if you have something unique, hopefully they can write the specs around what you have to offer, which puts you in a position to increase your chances of winning that. In video 2 here, it says alert from a bid notification system. So back in the day, I would say everyone would just open up the newspaper and see, okay, what kind of bids are out there? But with modern technology, everything's online. So there's a lot of companies out there in the market that what they do is they will crawl the web, go on the agency's websites, and they'll look for certain bids. And then if you subscribe to one of these services, you'll then be alerted on keywords. So whatever it is that you provide, you will be able to set up your profile. Sometimes people favor on the side of putting more keywords than they actually offer, just so they get requests in case it might be a gray area where they might be able to qualify or not. But this definitely helps out just so you can get in the mix and have it in, because nothing's worse than having a bid go out there and you don't know about it and you find out your competitor wins that $1 million contract. But these bid services vary depending if you're Bob's Plumbing. Maybe you just want to do local business within your territory, like your state. Depends how far you can drive around. Some people are like more regional, some people are national. And these services, bid services, they vary in price, from a couple thousand to tens of thousands of dollars. And you definitely get what you pay for. Video 3, evaluate if responding. So this is interesting because once it's released, you're no longer able to talk with that agency. You can't communicate. It's all through via email. It has to be in writing. But typically, a lot of the conversations are had prior to that bid release. So going back to number 1, you want to make sure you're in the mix beforehand. But once it's released, you can ask questions. There might not be specifications on there where they put where the deliverables have to be, and sometimes they'll release addendums to go out there. Video 4, coordinate with the proposal writer. So you probably are in sales if you're watching this because you want to grow your government sales. But the thing is, the bid proposal writing process is very time consuming and you have to be very thorough. Not say salespeople aren't thorough, but the detail-oriented person that's going to make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, the information's completed on time, because if you're a minute late, then you don't qualify. It's very important to have everything in order. So when Jack before talked about building the sales team, you have a couple inside reps, a couple outside, and have one person dedicated to this proposal writing. Number 5 here in the video, it is assign section responsibilities. So what this means is if you are putting together, say you have your proposal writer, there might be an expert, like just take it for instance, like the tech industry. Now, someone's really good at writing, making sure everything's in order, but there's someone in your company that's an expert as far as the technology goes. They're the subject matter expert, so you should rely on them to fill out certain sections of your proposal. Don't try to take it on. If you don't know it, go to the person within your company and have them complete it. And then once that information comes back, then you can review it and make sure everything's in order. But definitely trust the experts in your company if there's something on that bid that you're not too familiar with. So number 6 here, track and save standard verbiage. This is very, very important. I would say that 80% of what you respond is going to be boilerplate. It's information about your company, credentials, like other agencies you have worked with. But when it comes down to that standardized verbiage, if you have it saved in I heard there's companies out there now offer it, but you could just use like Word, Microsoft Word. If you have a program where you can just save that document so you can copy and paste, because you're going to start seeing the same fields again and again that you have to fill out. So once you do it the first time, yeah, it's going to suck. But after that, you can recycle that information, and then that extra 20% really comes down to your pricing strategies, which we'll get into in a little bit. So number 7, add validation items. So agencies are risk adverse. We all know this. So definitely include your success stories. That just puts a little cherry on top. So if you work with someone else and things went really well, include that. If it's apples to apples, you have the same offering as another company and you have a couple success stories, they will probably lean towards your company because, again, you've done the work and you have proven through other agencies that you've done it before. So include that if you have it. Number 8 here, develop a creative strategy. So this is also a key differentiator when it comes down to who do we select. And when I say who, it's the agencies that are doing the selection. So you would probably put in something that I'm thinking about more services industry here, that if you, or say you sell products, let's give you an example. So you sell products, you install computer equipment into an agency, city, county, school. And when you get there, once you win the contract, like you would have this in verbiage in your contract as well, that you could provide service or support within 24 hours. So let's just say that that monitor goes down, that you could drive over there and replace it, because again, if something goes wrong, that support is very important. Warranties, just replacing things. Just think about little ways that you can add something extra to it to make you stand out from the crowd. Your pricing points, well, is the most strategic part, because let's face it, all these vendors are guessing. It's one of those things where you always have your costs and then you try to figure out what price you put, because you want to go low enough where you win, but a little higher so you make enough money to keep your company in business. But some price points are just low because they want to win that business and build that credibility, and then hopefully down the road that will lead to future deals. But other companies just interpret the specs wrong. It's a common mistake. You can read a paragraph written by one person. You have 10 people in the room, and they all might interpret that paragraph in a different way. So they're quoting on something. Oh, well, we thought we could use like secondhand goods. Well, I'm just throwing that example out there. Probably you shouldn't sell secondhand goods, but just something that is along those lines where it's not actually clear. And if you don't ask the agency to clarify it, then you're really guessing at what they're asking for. So strongly encourage you to reach out, ask those questions so you can get your pricing as accurate as possible for what you'll be offering. Number 10 here, the re-review before submitting. So I mentioned before, it's a lot of paperwork. So once you get it all together, take the time to go through everything. Because let's face it, if you don't check, you do all this work and spend a month or 2 months putting it all together, you put it in, you miss one page, then you're going to be kicked out. Totally not worth it. So again, save yourself some time. If the bid's due in a week and you're rushing, you're going to learn your lesson, because I think a lot of companies have been there before where if they're trying to get a bid in, it's due at 12 o'clock at noon, they send it at 12:01, boom, you're kicked out. Or you fill out a bid and you're supposed to have a certain certification in there. Everything else is perfect. You have your specs, your scope, your price is the best price. But then when you get down to your actual document, you miss that one page, like a certification, you don't have it, they have to throw you out as well. And that's very, very painful during the process. So that gives you a quick overview of Chapter 6, the bid proposal system. Thanks so much for tuning into GovSales University. Take care. Bye-bye.